On the 16th of December 1971, the Pakistani army surrendered to Bangladeshi and Indian forces, and a new nation emerged. The death sentence on Sheikh Mujib was never carried out. On the 8th of January 1972, a little while later, he was released. He flew to London, then Delhi, then on to Dhaka, where he arrived on the 10th of January 1972 to become the leader and the father of a new nation. Later in 1972, he introduced a new constitution, and the year after that, a democratic election gave the Awami League a huge landslide victory. But it was not easy governing this country after the landslide victory. Bangladesh had been badly ravaged by civil war. Many leading Bengalis who might have helped to rebuild had been murdered. There were major problems as a result of that and of the dislocation reviving the economy and restoring law and order. All of this created major problems for Sheikh Mujib as Prime Minister of Pakistan. Discontent developed, and on the 15th of August 1975, a group of discontented middle-ranking soldiers staged a military coup, and astonishingly, they murdered Sheikh Mujib and 16 members of his family, all the members of his family they could locate, including children. Only 2 of his children were absent from the area around where he lived, and they survived, one of whom, you probably know this, one of whom, Sheikh Hasina Wajid, is Prime Minister of Bangladesh today. 3 months after that coup and the murders of the family, 2 more coups took place. The place was in chaos, and Bangladesh remained under military rule from then, 1975, until 1991, when the incapacity of military governments to govern adequately finally brought an end to military rule and a return to democracy in Pakistan. This is a sad end. The killing of the family and of Sheikh Mujib is a sad end to a remarkable struggle led by a remarkable man. This account of that grim struggle, plus certain other things, remind us of how important it is that Bangladesh be studied seriously here at the School of Oriental and African Studies and elsewhere. What are the other things that make that important? The brutal crackdown in 1971 by the Pakistani military killed many of the people who could have served as capable government officials. They could have helped the government to work well in Bangladesh, but they were missing, dead. And then after the 1975 coup, when Sheikh Mujib was killed, the country suffered a quarter century of inept military rule. We have learned time and again that armies are hopeless at governing complex Asian societies, and that certainly was true of Bangladesh after 1975. Now, the ineptitude of the army and the murders of so many capable people have made it difficult for governments in Bangladesh, even up to the present day, to achieve great things. But in spite of that, and in part because the government was somewhat incapacitated, Bangladesh has developed some of the most constructive non-governmental organizations on earth to compensate for the limitations of government institutions. When you consider an institution like BRAC, which is as accomplished as any non-governmental organization of promoting development as any in Africa, Asia, or Latin America, or when you consider the Grameen Bank and the idea that launched it, Grameen Bank has won the Nobel Prize. And when you consider also many more organizations, less famous but quite formidable, what you see is a group of organizations that add up to a more potent set of civil society organizations than we find in almost any other country in Asia, Africa, or Latin America. I can only think of 2 other countries on those continents which compare with Bangladesh. Now, those organizations that make Bangladesh an important place that needs serious study. How did they do it? And what do these organizations do? And how do they work with government? Those organizations, together with government, have achieved a great deal. For example, and this I find quite astonishing, Bangladesh has done better than India, which has superior human and financial resources, in promoting family planning and in tackling malnutrition. Malnutrition is a scourge across India. It means that about 37% of Indian people are less intelligent than they might be because in the first 5 years of their lives, malnutrition prevents their brains from developing fully, and you cannot do anything about it after the first 5 years. 37% of Indians are more, to put it bluntly, are more stupid than they might be because of malnutrition. This kind of problem is much less serious in Bangladesh, even though Bangladesh has less financial resources. The achievements of Bangladesh, governmental and non-governmental together, are remarkable in many ways and deserve serious study. Other countries can learn from this. And while Bangladesh is an overwhelmingly Muslim country, it has coped reasonably well with Islamic extremism, and of course, it has sustained democratic politics since 1991, when the military finally gave up power. So, those of us who study South Asia, although we often focus on Bangladesh's gigantic neighbor India for understandable reasons, we need to pay attention to Bangladesh. It's not just a huge country in its own right, but it's an extremely important country in ways that even India is not. So we need to pay Bangladesh and the legacy of Sheikh Mujib the attention that they deserve. Thank you.